Shades of Green, Monday morning on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDOM.
The Green Alliance, a 501c3 nonprofit organization, fosters, promotes, and offers programs and initiatives that advance environmental sustainability for the past 2 decades. Visit greenalliancenv.org to learn more about the many programs we offer. There's monthly networking events, Shades of Green radio show, high-performance home education, and Drive Clean initiatives. The Green Alliance connects like-minded local Nevadans with the goal of becoming a thriving leader in sustainability. Go to greenalliancenv.org and join today.
And we are back. Good morning. This is Shades of Green radio show on KDWN 720 AM, 101.5 FM here in Las Vegas. Our show is produced by Green Alliance and sponsored by NV Energy, and I am your host, Paul Ira. On the line, we have Chris Brooks, Assemblyman from District 10. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
When we left, went to break, we were talking about NRS 704B and the companies that are leaving the grid and going their own way. How do you see that coming back up in the 2019 session? What's going to happen there?
Well, there's been a lot of desire from folks to extend 704B to other customers, to make the exit fee calculation simpler to calculate, more transparent, more predictable. And so I think there'll definitely be some desire to do some of those things, but I don't know that there needs to be, or there's a major overhaul or major changes being proposed to it. One of the things that you mentioned before we went to break was the sunk costs and how the exit fee is supposed to take care of those sunk costs. One of the things that isn't discussed a lot, but is very obvious and evident when you look at the 704B filing, large consumers subsidize smaller consumers. So these heavy industrial users and casinos and mines, they pay, they take delivery of large amounts of energy, and that is a much more efficient way to deliver energy to a consumer than you or I. So if you're a small user and you use very little electricity, especially if you're out on the end of the line, or if you're in an older electrical distribution part of town, you cost a lot more than what you actually pay. And the way that we worked that out in years past is we just kind of put it all together, mixed it all up, and a lot of those distribution costs were paid for by large consumers so that we could keep residential rates reasonable. What happens is, as all these large consumers leave, is the residential rate base is going to eventually feel that pain.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so when we talk about sunk costs, it costs something to build that power plant and to build those power lines in the distribution system. And like you said, one big pipe going into a casino is efficient, but thousands and thousands of little small pipes or wires going to residential costs a lot more to deliver, hence the difference in costs. So their costs are less. So when they leave, that's the base load of why they built the utility plant, so now everybody else's costs go up, hence the exit fee. Is that correct?
That's the concept. And so I don't think anybody is completely satisfied with how effective that exit fee calculation is, but it's because there's just so many variables associated with it. And, if you're a large business, of course, you want to get the absolute best price for a commodity as you possibly can. But, the way that this electrical system in this country has been built out, a lot of those costs are socialized across all of the ratepayers. So that's going to be the conversation moving forward, not just in Nevada, but across this country.
All good. Thank you for that, Chris. Let's talk a little bit about Renewable Portfolio Standards, or RPS legislation, which was also passed during the 2017 legislative session to extend existing RPS beyond 2025. Talk to us a little bit about that. What does that mean?
So the RPS, the Renewable Portfolio Standard, has been the tool that most states have used to get to high levels of renewable energy. The RPS tells a utility that they must buy or make or sell a certain amount of their energy with renewables by a certain date. That gives them the certainty to make long-term investments in large renewable energy plants or buy contracts. And renewable energy is the absolute cheapest form of energy in this country today, but it requires, since there is no fuel cost, you have to have a long amortization period to be able to realize those low costs. And the way that we were able to do that in the state of Nevada is by having a large RPS, and so to so many other states. We're no longer in the top 5 of states in the country with a high RPS. We've been surpassed by a lot of states, but we passed a bill, Assembly Bill 206. I sponsored it and helped draft it in the last session to expand that. And our goal was 50 by 30, and it was vetoed by the governor, Governor Sandoval, because of the uncertainty associated with Question 3. Now that Question 3 has failed, I plan on bringing that back. As a matter of fact, I've already have a bill draft request in for it to have another renewable portfolio expansion bill. And I think that we can do some things like come up with some innovative ways that a lot of consumers can meet the mandate of the portfolio standard, including NV Energy. And so we're going to be bringing that back, and there is no uncertainty associated with Question 3. And as you've seen, a lot of big businesses and NV Energy have said just recently that they have big plans that would fit well within a portfolio standard.
They might even surpass the 50% by 2030 to go beyond that by that time. So that might be interesting, right? And also, Question 6 was passed as the initiative the first time. It has to be voted on in 2 years. But that also requested, 50% by 2030 or 40% by 2030? 50%.
Yeah, Question 6 was on the ballot. It passed by a wide margin, 2-1, or excuse me, 3-2 in the state of Nevada. That it would be 50 by 30. And now Question 6 and the RPS that we currently have and the RPS that I proposed last session were all floors, not ceilings. Mm-hmm. And so we would hope that NV Energy, we would hope that all the 704B consumers in the state would be would surpass that. And that would be a good the outcome that we're looking for.
Well, we're being told that NV Energy already has plans to go 100% by like 2040 or 2045. So they have very aggressive goals.
And I believe that to be true. There is, if you think about, where you would want to put your investments as a large utility right now, I don't know that I would want to tie my fortune to the cost of natural gas, and definitely not coal. And there is a significant cost, environmental and social cost, societal cost to carbon, and eventually our nation will start dealing with that. And generally the way that we deal with that is through a carbon cost mechanism, whether it be a tax or a cap and trade program, and getting in front of that by being as high a percentage of renewable as you can is a good business decision.
It is, and whatever your stance is on global warming, it's a good idea to get that carbon out of the air as much as possible because it reduces pollution and helps us with our health standards. There are a lot of people out there getting sick with respiratory problems because of all that pollution. We'll talk some more about this when we come back to Shades of Green on KDWN. We'll be right back.